So sneezy because it's so bright. Wow, that light went right in my eyeball and it made me sneeze. Instantaneously. Hello. Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? We're making the coffee this morning, as we do. Go hop on 1 minute past 8. That's really funny. I'm sorry about that. I was a little hungry, so I was having a cheese stick. IT, what's going on with IT, Lauren? What are we panicking about? Don't panic. What is it? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. What's going on this morning with all of you? I think a kid broke my hair. Oh, that is not good. That's a pretty serious one, Lauren. I'm sorry. What's the recourse for that? You have to get a whole new one if it's broken? Does your IT department know how to fix it? That's pretty bad. Recovering from... What? That's weird, Renee. That is a weird one. Currently trying to figure out how to put gamification learning into a module for salespeople. Oh, I like it. I love that. Starting the morning asking Becca if she has a cat in Mandarin. That's amazing, you guys. On Redbook it allows audio messages. That's funny. I haven't had a chance to really explore Redbook. I got it obviously just in case, but I am still hoping that we get to keep this one. You know, that's my deepest hope. I know I sound just, yeah, book club becomes Mandarin class. That's right. I'm hoping. I'm just hoping, I know it seems crazy to even hope at this point, but I am hoping that we still have a chance. I'm hoping we still have a chance. I know, it's crazy, Becca. Did you guys see that Meta's stock dropped over 30 points in the last 2 days because of the mass exodus? I think it's great. I hope that sends a sign, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, they deserve it. Yeah, apparently he had already announced that he was going to... you have the same mug? Really? Do you live near the aquarium in Long Beach? That's what it's from. Apparently he had already announced that he was firing the bottom quarter of employees because that's amazing. How fun. Yeah, that is from the Long Beach Aquarium. Very cool. Or for whatever. So yeah, I need to explore RedNote. I haven't had time to learn how to use it. I haven't found anybody yet. I literally haven't done anything, but that doesn't mean I won't. I just haven't had the time. But I will. Meta, Jen. Meta. Voice message you in Mandarin after this. That's very funny. I'm feeling okay. Yeah, and Jen, apparently they announced they were going to cut the staff before the stock dropped, so it's not retaliation for that. They were already going to be doing it. So they deserve it. I spy a baby bathtub. Yes, it's true. Someone did gift us a baby bathtub. It's 100% true. Good eye. It was very good. It's funny to me how the government was worried about China. I think that's the best part, Naisa. And I think that that's going to tell them that they don't have the control they think they have. So hopefully today's vote, did you guys see that it needs a unanimous vote on the floor today? So like anyone who's there has to vote affirmative for it to work, but we'll see. We'll see. It's just to get us 270 more days, but I'll take it. You know, at this point, I'll take whatever I can get. All right. It's a long time for alternatives. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Oh, 100% Ace. I think we all did. The vibe there is fantastic too. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to explore it. I just haven't had the time, you know? I just haven't had the time. So... Sorry, I'm just trying to get this into the tripod. Okay, here we go. I personally think that if we get to keep TikTok, the vibes over here are going to be fantastic because everyone's going to be in such a good mood about getting to stay. I think that it's going to be great, but we'll see, you know, we shall see. Yeah, trying to rebuild a following of this size. I know it's not as big as some people, but it took me a minute, you know. It wasn't easy. It didn't happen overnight, I'll tell you that much. It was work. So I don't really want to start over from scratch. And even YouTube is like, eh. So, you know, we'll see. Yeah, starting your whole business over from scratch seems like a for me. It took work just to get to 5K and then I quit. Yeah, yeah, it's work. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize the amount of work that it takes. I've had people in my life in various capacities over the years kind of almost say the Elle Woods thing. They're not Elle Woods, so they don't get to do that. But like basically do the like, what, like it's hard kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, it kind of is. Like, I've had people just be like, well, you did it, so like I can do it. And it's like, well, okay, then do it. If you think it's so easy, then do it. Like, all right, bro. Yeah. And that always, like, especially if it was a friend who would say something like that, I would be really, all right, yeah, oh, that's exciting, Liz, send pictures when you're done. Yeah, exactly. Like, if it was ever, like, a friend who would say things like that, I would get really salty because I would be like, what are you trying to say? That I, like, you know, it's a little head tilty. I'm always like, oh, all right, well, let's see you do it then. And then they would try to do it for their business and end up with like 1,000 followers. And I'm like, what? Like, it's hard. It's like people that are like, you write for a living. Yeah, sure, Brenda. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's backhanded for sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. It's very interesting. It's like people don't understand the nuance that goes into it. There's a lot of things I can't do. Millions of things I can't do that my friends do. And when they say that they do them, I'm never like, oh, like I could do that. I'm always like, oh man, that sounds crazy. You know, because I don't know how to do it. I don't pretend that I do know how to do it and like belittle their work. It's so bizarre to me. But anyway, let's get into it. We, as you know, are reading Princess Diaries Volume 2, Princess in the Spotlight. And just so everyone knows, we are at 45% right now, but I have put us on hold for the next 2 books. So even if we finish this quickly, Agreed, right? We can jump right into the next one. So that's very exciting for us. Hopefully, I'm told that the next two should pop up pretty quickly on the library based on like my time. So yeah, if we can, I mean, we'll do that. These books feel like they are going really fast, and it's not even like they're short. I think they're just easy reads, which is great. I mean, like, no complaints from me, right? I can't wait for us to just binge Princess Diaries. But yeah, right? Like, why not? Though that's the thing. Like, it's good, you know? I'm invested in the characters. I hope you all are. But we'll keep going until we can't, and then you know, what do you think's going on here? Okay, I still want to read the other books that we have on hold, but they haven't come up yet. Yeah, they're easy, light, and fun, and that's definitely something I wanted leading up to labor. Like, I didn't want to have anything that was gonna like stress me out. The writing is similar to your speech pattern. It is, and I think that's her fault, maybe. Or maybe I was already that way and I just loved her, or maybe it's a combination of both. Like, I was already a little that way, but like she enhanced it. I don't know. I'm not sure which came first, the chicken or the egg. I believe that, Naisa. Or maybe it'll be ready in October. Who knows? It would be nice if it was October, right? Okay. Speaking of October, Monday, October 27th, later. I figured as soon as I got home, I would tell my mom that she and Mr. G need to elope right away. Grandmere had brought in a professional, and I knew it would be a pain, what with Mom's latest opening being so soon and all, but it was either that or be a part of a royal wedding, the likes of which this city has never seen since, like, well, ever. But when I got home, Mom had her head in the toilet. It turns out that her morning sickness has begun, and it isn't at all exclusive. She throws up about just any time, not even just in the morning. She was so sick I didn't have the heart to make her feel worse by telling her what Grandmere had planned. Be sure to put a video in, Mom kept calling from the bathroom. I didn't know what she was talking about, but Mr. G did. I didn't know what she was talking about, but Mr. G did. Meant to make sure to tape my interview with Beverly Bellavere. I had completely forgotten about it in light of what happened at Grandmere's, but Mom hadn't forgotten about it. Since my mom was incapacitated, Mr. G and I settled in to watch my interview together, well, in between running to the bathroom to offer Mom seltzers and saltines. I figured that I would tell Mr. G about Grandmere and the wedding at the first commercial break, but I sort of forgot in the unbelievable horror of what followed. Beverly Bellavere, undoubtedly in an effort to impress my father, actually did messenger over both a videotape and a written transcript of the interview. I will enclose parts of the written transcript here, so if I am ever asked to do another interview again, I can look at it and know exactly why I should never allow myself to appear on television. Transcript. 24/7 from Monday, 27 October, America's Princess, B. Bellavere interview with M. Ronaldo. Exterior, Thompson Street, south of Houston, Soho, World Trade in the background. Beverly Bellavere. Oh, I forgot. This was written before 9/11. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's right. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Beverly Bellavere, here I'm recognized as BB. Imagine, if you will, an ordinary teen girl. Well, as ordinary as a teenage girl who lives in New York City's Greenwich Village with her single mom, acclaimed painter Helen Thermopolis, can be. Mia's life was filled with things most normal teenagers' lives are filled with. Homework, friends, and the occasional F in algebra, until one day, it all changed. Interior, penthouse suite, the Plaza Hotel. Mia, may I call you Mia, or would you prefer that I call you Your Royal Highness, or Amelia? Mia Ronaldo, M.R. No, you can call me Mia. Mia, tell us about that day, the day life as you know it changed completely. Well, what happened was, it changed completely. Well,
what happened was my dad and I were here at the plaza, you know, and I was drinking tea and I got the hiccups and everyone was looking at me and my dad was, you know, trying to tell me that I was the heir to the throne of Genovia and the country where he lives. And I was like, look, I gotta go to the bathroom. And so I did. And I waited there until my hiccup stopped. And when I came back to my chair, he told me that I was a princess and I completely flipped out and I ran to the zoo. And I sat there and I looked at the penguins for a while and I totally couldn't believe it because like in the 7th grade, they made us do fact sheet on all the countries in Europe. But I totally missed the part about my dad being the prince of it. And all I could think was how I was gonna die if the people in school found out because I didn't want to end up being a freak like my friend Tina who has to go around school with a bodyguard, but that's exactly what happened. I am a huge freak, like a huge freak. This is the part where she tries to salvage the situation. Oh, Mia, I can't believe that's true. I'm sure that you are quite popular. No, I'm not. I'm not popular at all. Only jocks are popular at my school and cheerleaders, but I'm not popular. I mean, I don't hang out with the popular people. I never get invited to parties or anything like that. I mean, like not the cool parties where the beer and the making out and stuff is. I mean, I'm not a jock or a cheerleader or even one of the smart kids. Oh, you aren't one of the smart kids though? I understand one of your classes is called Gifted and Talented. Well, yeah, but see, G&T is just like study hall. We don't actually have to like do anything in that class except goof around because the teacher is never there. She's always in the teacher's lounge across the hall, so she has no idea what we're doing, which is just totally goofing off. Obviously, still thinking that she could make something out of the interview, Beverly continues. But I don't imagine that you have much time for goofing off. Do you, Mia? For instance, we're sitting here in the penthouse suite that belongs to your grandmother, the celebrated Dowager Princess of Genovia, who is, as I understand it, instructing you in royal decorum. Oh, yeah, I mean, she's giving me princess lessons after school. Well, like, after my algebra review session, which is what's after school. Mia, didn't you have some exciting news recently? Oh, yeah, well, I'm pretty excited. I've always wanted to be a big sister, but they don't really want to make a big deal out of it, you know? It's just going to be like a really small ceremony at City Hall. There's more. A lot more. It's too excruciating to go into. Basically, I just babble like an idiot for another 10 minutes while Beverly frantically attempts to steer me back to something resembling the actual question she asked. Wow, Becky, that was extremely rude. We're gonna go ahead and block you. You don't get to be rude to book club members like that. Avery was doing you a favor because you don't deserve the kindness of an answer from me if you're gonna talk to people like that. Peace out. Yeah, blocked forever. Cool. Avery's gonna win out every time on this one, you guys. That's not how we play with our book club members. Did I ask you? No, I did not. What a terrible way to reply to a nice human. I'm sorry, Avery. You didn't deserve that reply. Absolutely unacceptable on that person's behalf, but they're gone now, so don't worry, sweetheart. I got you. I know, Avery. Listen, Avery, you were well within your right to answer the way you did. I actually thought you were doing me a favor, so I say thank you to Avery. Becky might not, but that's okay because she's gone now forever. I blocked her. Not muted, blocked. So she can't come back and say that to you ever again. Goodbye. Okay, now that that's taken care of, we'll go back to Princess Mia without crazy people. That was wild. I'm sorry, that threw me. No, Becca, you're allowed to be distracted, but people aren't allowed to be mean to Avery. Continuing. Yeah, rude much, literally. Miss Bellavere tried, though. I have to give her that. And then the interview ended with this. They say that to mods too. It's funny. I mean, just get rid of them when they say that. If they say, I didn't ask you, be like, great, we didn't ask you to be here. Exterior, Thompson Street, Soho. Beverly Bellavere. She's not a jock, nor is she a cheerleader. What Amelia Mionette Grimaldi Thermopolis Ronaldo is, ladies and gentlemen, defies the social stereotypes that exist in today's modern educational institutions. She is a princess, an American princess, and yet she faces the same problems and pressures that all teenagers all over the country face every day. With a twist. One day, she will grow up to govern a nation. And come spring, she'll be a big sister. Yes, 24/7 has discovered that Hella Thermopolis and Mia's algebra teacher, Frank Gianni, who are unmarried at the moment, are expecting their first child in May. When we come back, an exclusive interview with Mia's father, the Prince of Genovia, next on 24/7. So what it all boiled down to is basically that I'm moving to Genovia. My mom, who finally came out towards the end of the tape, and Mr. G tried to convince me that the interview wasn't that bad, but it was. Oh, believe me, it was. And I knew it was from the minute the phone started ringing right after the segment aired. Oh, God, my mother said, suddenly remembering something. Don't pick it up. It's my mother. Frank, I forgot to tell my mother about us. Actually, I was kind of hoping Grandma Thermopolis was on the other end. Grandma Thermopolis was infinitely preferable, in my opinion, to who it actually turned out to be on the other end of the line. Lily. And boy, was she mad. What do you mean, calling us a bunch of freaks? Lily screamed into the phone. And I said, Lily, what are you talking about? I didn't call you a freak. You basically informed the entire nation that the population of Albert Einstein High School is divided into various socioeconomic cliques, and that you and your friends are too uncool to be seen with any of them. Well, I said, we are. Speak for yourself. And what about G&T? What about G&T? You just told the entire country that we sit in there and goof off because Mrs. Hill is always in the teacher's lunch. What, are you stupid? You probably got her into big trouble for that. I felt something inside me clench, as if someone was squeezing my intestines very, very tightly. Oh, I breathed. Do you really think so? And then Lily just let out a frustrated scream and then snarled, my parents said to tell your mother Mazel Tov. And then she slammed down the phone. I felt worse than ever. Poor Mrs. Hill. And then the phone rang again. It was Shamika this time. Mia, she said, remember how I invited you to my Halloween party this Friday? Yeah? I said, well, my dad won't let me have it now, she replied. What? Why? Because thanks to you, he's under the impression that Albert Einstein High School is filled with sex addicts and alcoholics. But I didn't say that. Not in those exact words, anyway. Well, that's what he heard, and he's currently in the next room surfing the internet for a girls' school in New Hampshire that he can send me to next semester, and he says he's not letting me go out with a boy again until I'm 30 years old. Oh, Shamika, I said, I'm so sorry. Shamika didn't say anything. In fact, she too had hung up because she was sobbing too hard to speak. The phone rang again. I did not want to answer it, but I had no choice. Mr. Gianni was holding back Mom's hair while she threw up some more. Hello? It was Tina Hakim Baba this time. Oh my gosh, she shouted. I'm so sorry, Tina, figuring better start by apologizing to every single person who called just right off the bat. Sorry? What are you sorry for? Tina was practically hyperventilating. You said my name on TV. It's so exciting. I know. I had also called her a freak. I can't believe it, Tina yelled. That was so cool. You aren't mad at me? Why should I be mad at you? This is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me. I've never had my name said on television before. I was filled with love and appreciation for Tina Hakim Baba in this moment. I asked carefully, did your parents see it? Yeah, they're excited too. My mom said to tell you that the blue eyeshadow was a stroke of genius. Not too much, just enough to catch the light. She was very impressed. Also, she said to tell your mother that she has some excellent stretch mark cream that she got in Sweden, you know, for like when she starts to get big. I'll bring it to school tomorrow so that you can give it to your mom. What about your dad? I asked carefully. He's not planning to send you to like an all-girls school or anything? What are you talking about? He's delighted that you mentioned my bodyguard. And now he thinks that anyone who's planning to kidnap me will definitely think twice. Oops, hang on, there's another call. It's probably my grandmother in Dubai. They have satellite dish there. I'm sure that they heard you mention me. Bye! I love your speed reading. It's giving. Oh, yeah. This is Princess Diaries 2. Whenever you come into the live, it always pops up whatever we're reading at the time. So you can always just see my little comment about that. The phone rang again. It was Grandmere. Well, she said, that was just terrible, wasn't it? I said, is there any way I can demand a retraction? Because I didn't mean to say that my gifted and talented teacher doesn't do anything that my school was full of sex addicts. It's really not, you know? I cannot imagine what that woman was thinking, Grandmere said. I was pleased that she was on my side for once, and then she went on, and I saw that she wasn't talking about anything to do with me. She failed to show a single picture of the palace, and it's the most beautiful in the autumn. The palm trees look magnificent. This is a travesty. I tell you, an absolute travesty. You realize the promotional opportunities that have been wasted here. Absolutely wasted. Grandmere, you have to do something, I wailed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show my face at school tomorrow. Tourism has been down in Genovia, Grandmere reminded me, ever since we banned cruise ships from docking in the bay. But who needs day trippers? What with their sticky film cameras and their awful Bermuda shorts? If that woman had shown a few shots of the casinos and the beaches, why, we have only natural white sands along the Riviera. Are you aware of that, Amelia? Monaco has to import their sand. Maybe I could transfer to another school. Do you think that there's another school in Manhattan that will take someone with a 1.0 in algebra? Wait. Grammar's voice became muffled. Oh no. There we are. Oh, it's back on. They're showing some simply lovely shots of the palace. Oh, and there's the beach, and the bay. Oh, and the olive groves. Oh, lovely. Simply lovely. The woman might have a few redeeming qualities after... Oh, I suppose I will allow your father to continue seeing her. And then she hung up. My own grandmother hung up on me. What kind of a reject am I anyway? I went into my mom's bathroom and she was sitting there on the floor looking unhappy. Mr. Gianni was sitting on the edge of the bathtub and he just looked confused. Well, who could blame him? A couple of months ago, he was just an algebra teacher. Now he's the father, the future sibling of the Princess of Genovia. I need to find another school to go to from now on, I informed them. Do you think you could help me with that, Mr. G? I mean, do you have any pull with the Teachers Association or anything like that? My mother went, oh, Mia, please, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, it was, I said. You didn't even see most of it because you were in here throwing up. Yes, my mother said, but I could hear it. And what did you say that wasn't true? People who excel at sports have been traditionally treated like gods in our society, while people whose brilliance is cerebral are routinely ignored. Worse, they're mocked for being nerds or geeks. Frankly, I believe scientists working on cures for cancer should be paid the salaries that professional athletes are receiving. Professional athletes aren't out there saving lives, for God's sakes, they entertain. And actors, don't tell me acting is art. Teaching, now there's an art. Frank should be making what Tom Cruise does for teaching you how to multiply fractions the way that he did. I realized that my mother was probably just delusional from her nausea, and I said, well, I think I'll just be going to bed now. Instead of replying, my mother leaned over the toilet and threw up some more. I could see that in spite of all my warnings about the potential lethality of shellfish for a developing fetus, she ordered jumbo prawns and garlic sauce from No. 1 Noodle Son anyway. I went to my room and went online. Maybe, I thought, I could transfer to the same school that Shamika's father's shipping her off to. At least then I'd already have one friend. If Shamika would even speak to me after what I'd done, which I doubted. No one at Albert Einstein High, with the exception of Tina Hakim Baba, who was obviously clueless, was ever going to speak to me again. And then an instant message flashed across my computer screen. Somebody wanted to talk to me. But who? Josie Rocks? Was it Josie Rocks? No, even better. It was Michael. Michael at least still wanted to talk to me. I have printed out our conversation and stuck it in here. Michael. Hey, just saw you on TV. You were good. Me. What are you talking about? I made a complete and utter fool of myself. And what about Mrs. Hill? They're probably going to fire her. Michael. Well, at least you told the truth. Me. But all those people are mad at me now. Lily is furious. Michael. She's just jealous because you have more people watching you on that one 15-minute segment than all the people who have ever watched all her shows put together. No, that's not why. She thinks I've betrayed our generation or something like that by revealing that cliques exist at Albert Einstein High School. Well, that and the fact that you claimed you don't belong to any of the cliques. Well, I don't. Yeah, you do. Lily likes to think that you belong to the exclusive and highly selective Lily Moskovitz clique. Only you neglected to mention this, and that really upset her. Really? Did she actually say that? She didn't say it, but she's my sister, and I know the way that she thinks. Maybe. I don't know, Michael. Look, are you all right? You were a mess at school today, although now it's clear why. It's pretty cool about your mom and Mr. G. You must be pretty excited. I guess so. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, but at least this time Mom's getting married like a normal person. Now you won't need my help with your algebra homework anymore. You'll have your own personal tutor right there at home. I had never thought of this. How awful. I don't want my own personal tutor. I want Michael to keep helping me during G&T. Mr. Gianni's all right and everything, but he's certainly not Michael. So I wrote back really fast. Well, I don't know. I mean, he's going to be really awfully busy for a while moving in, and then there'll be the baby and everything like that. Oh, God, a baby. I can't believe it. No wonder you were wigging out so badly today. Yeah, I really was. Wigging out, I mean. And what about that thing this afternoon with Lana? That couldn't have helped much, although it was pretty funny, her thinking that you and I were going out. Yeah. Actually, I didn't see anything particularly funny about it, but what was I supposed to say? Gee, Michael, why don't we give that a try? Yeah, as if. So instead, I said, yeah, really, she's such a head case. I guess it never occurred to her that two people of the opposite sex can just be friends with no romantic involvement. Although I do have to admit the way that I feel about Michael, particularly when I'm over at Lily's and he comes out of his room with no shirt on, is quite romantic. But he replied, yeah, hey, listen, what are you doing on Friday night anyway? Was he asking me out? Was Michael Moskovitz finally asking me out? No, it wasn't possible. Not after the way that I make a fool of myself on national television. Just to be safe, though, I figured I would try for a neutral reply in case he wanted to know whether I could come over and walk Pavlov because the Moskovitzes were going to be out of town or something like that. So I replied, I don't know. Why? Well, because it's Halloween, you know. I thought a bunch of us could go together to the Rocky Horror Picture Show over at the Village Cinema. Okay, so not a date, but we would be sitting beside each other in a darkened room, so that had to count for something. And Rocky Horror is sort of scary, so if I reached over and grabbed him, it might be okay. I responded with, sure, yeah, that sounds ... And then I remembered Friday night was Halloween, all right, but it was also the night of my mom's royal wedding. I mean, if Grandmere gets her way. Can I get back to you? I might have a family obligation that evening. Yeah, sure, just let me know. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, can't wait. Don't worry. You were telling the truth. You can't get in trouble for telling the truth. Ha! That's what he thinks. There's a reason I lie all the time, you know? Top 5 things about being in love with your best friend's brother. Number 1, you get to see him in his natural environment, not just school, thus allowing you access to vital information, like the difference between his school personality and his regular personality. Number 2, you get to see him without a shirt on. Number 3, you get to see him all the time. Number 4, you get to see how he treats his mother, sister / housekeeper, critical clues as to how he will treat any prospective girlfriend. Number 5, convenient. You can hang out with your friend and spy on the object of your affection all the time. Top 5 worst things about being in love with your best friend's brother. Number 1, you can't tell her. Number 2, you can't tell him because he might tell her. Number 3, you can't tell anyone else because they might tell him, or worse, they might tell her. Number 4, he will never admit his true feelings because you're his little sister's best friend. And number 5, you are continuously thrust into his presence knowing that he will never think of you as anything but his little sister's best friend for as long as you live. And yet you continue to pine for him until every fiber of your being cries out for him. And you think that you're probably going to die even though your biology teacher says it's physiologically impossible to die from a broken heart. Tuesday, October 28th, Principal Gupta's office. Oh God, no sooner had I set foot in homeroom today than I was summoned to the principal's office. I was hoping that it was so she could make sure I wasn't carrying any contraband cough syrup, but it was more likely because of what I said on TV last night. Particularly, I would guess the part about how divisive and clique-ridden it is around here. Meanwhile, all the other people in the school who have never been invited to a party by a given popular kid have rallied around me. It's like I struck a blow for dweebs everywhere or something like that. The minute I walked into school today, the hip-hoppers, the brainiacs, the drama freaks, and they were all like, hey, you tell it like it is, sister. No one has ever called me sister before. It's somewhat invigorating, truthfully. Only the cheerleaders treat me the way they always have. And as I walk down the hall, their eyes flicker over me from the top of my head all the way down to my shoes. And then they whisper to each other and laugh. Well, I suppose it is amusing to see a 5'9" flat-chested Amazon like myself roaming loose in the halls. I suppose no one has thrown a net over me and hauled me off to the Natural History Museum. Of my own friends, only Lily and Shamika, of course, aren't entirely thrilled with last night's performance. Lily is still unhappy about my spilling the beans about the socioeconomic divisions at our school's population, not unhappy enough to turn down a ride to school in the limo this morning, however. Interestingly enough, Lily's chilly treatment of me has only served to bring her brother and I closer. This morning in the limo on the way to school, Michael offered to go over my algebra homework with me to make sure I was getting my equations all right. I was touched by his offer, and the warm feeling I had when he pronounced all my problems correct didn't have anything to do with pride and everything to do with the way his fingers brushed against mine as he handed me the piece of paper. Could he be Josie Rocks? Could he? Oh gosh, Principal Gupta's ready to see me now. Tuesday, October 28th, Algebra. Principal Gupta is way concerned about my mental health. Mia, are you really so unhappy here at Albert Einstein? I didn't want to hurt her feelings or anything, so I said no. But I mean, the truth is, I probably wouldn't matter what school I got stuck in. I'll always be a 5'9" freak with no breasts no matter where I go. And then Principal Gupta said something that surprised me. I only asked because last night during your interview, you said you weren't popular. I wasn't quite sure where she was going with this, so I just said, well, I'm not, with a shrug. That isn't true, Principal Gupta said. Everyone in the school knows who you are. I still didn't want her to feel bad, like it was her fault I'm a biological sport. So I explained very gently, well, yeah, but that's only because I'm a princess. Before that, I was pretty much invisible. And Principal Gupta said, that simply isn't true. But all I could think was, how would you even know? You aren't out there. You don't know what it's like. And then I felt even worse for her because she's obviously living in this principal fantasy world. Perhaps, Principal Gupta said, if you took part in more extracurricular activities, you'd feel a better sense of belonging. This caused my jaw to drop. Principal Gupta, I couldn't help exclaiming, I'm barely passing algebra. All of my free time is spent in review sessions so I can scrape by with a D. Well, Principal Gupta said, I am aware of that. Also, after my review sessions, I have to go to princess lessons with my grandmother so that when I go to Genovia in December for my introduction to the people that I will one day rule, I don't make a complete idiot of myself like I did on TV last night. Well, I think that the word idiot might be a little strong. I really don't have time, I went on, feeling more sorry for her than ever, for extracurricular activities. The yearbook committee meets only once a week, Principal Gupta said, or perhaps you could join the track team. They won't begin training until spring, and by that time, hopefully, you won't be having princess lessons anymore. I just blinked at her. I was so surprised. Me? Track? I can barely walk without tripping over my own gargantuan feet. God knows what would happen if I tried running. And the yearbook committee? Did I really look like someone who wanted to remember a single thing about my high school experience? Well, Principal Gupta said, I guess realizing from my facial expression that I was not enthused by either of those suggestions. It was just an idea. I do think you'd be much happier here at Albert Einstein if you joined a club. I am aware, of course, of your friendship with Lily Moscovitz, and I sometimes wonder if she might be, well, perhaps a negative influence on you. The television show of hers, it's quite acerbic. I was shocked by this. Poor Principal Gupta is more delusional than I thought. Oh no, I said. Lily's show is actually quite positive. Didn't you see the episode dedicated to fighting racism in Korean delis? Or the one about how the clothing stores that cater to teens are prejudiced against larger sized girls since they don't carry enough things in size 12, and that's the size of the average American woman? Or the one where we tried to hand deliver a pound of Viniero cookies to Freddie Prinze Jr.'s apartment because he'd been looking a little thin? Principal Gupta held up her hand. I see that you're very passionate about this, she said, and I must say I am pleased. It's good to know you feel passionate about something, Mia, other than your apathy towards athletes and cheerleaders. Then I felt worse than ever, and I said, I don't feel apathy towards them. I'm just saying that sometimes it feels like they run the school, Principal Gupta. Well, I can assure you, Principal Gupta said, that is not true. Oh, poor Principal Gupta. Still, I did feel that I had to intrude upon the fantasy world in which she so obliviously lives in just a smidge. I said, Principal Gupta, about Mrs. Hill, what about her? Principal Gupta asked. I didn't mean it when I said she's always in the teacher's lounge during Gifted and Talented. That was just an exaggeration. Principal Gupta smiled at me this very brittle way. Don't worry, Mia, she said. Mrs. Hill has been taken care of. Taken care of? What does that mean? I'm almost scared to find out. Tuesday, October 28th, Gifted and Talented. Well, Mrs. Hill didn't get fired. Instead, I guess they gave her a warning or something. The upshot of it is that Mrs. Hill won't budge from behind her desk during the gifted and talented lab, which means that we all have to sit at our desks and actually do work. And we can't lock Boris in the supply closet, so we actually have to sit here and listen to him play bar talk. We can't talk to one another because we're supposed to be working on our individual projects. And boy, is everyone mad at me. But no one is madder than Lily. It turns out that Lily has been secretly writing a book about the socioeconomic divisions that exist within the walls of Albert Einstein High School. Really? She didn't want to tell me. But finally, Boris blurted it out at lunch today. Lily threw a fry at him and got ketchup all over his sweater. I can't believe that Lily's told Boris things that she hasn't told me. I'm supposed to be her best friend. Boris is just her boyfriend. Why is she telling him cool things like how she's writing a book and not telling me? Well, can I read it? I begged. No. Lily was really mad. She wouldn't even look at Boris, and he had already totally forgiven her about the ketchup, even though he was probably willing to get the sweater dry cleaned. Can I at least read just one page? I asked. No. Just one sentence? No. Michael didn't know about the book either. He told me right before Mrs. Hill came in that he offered to publish it in his webzine Crackhead, but Lily said in a quite snotty voice that she was holding out for a legitimate publisher. Am I in it? I wanted to know. Your book, am I in it? Lily said that if people don't stop bothering her about it, she's going to fling herself off the top of the school's water tower. She's exaggerating, of course. You can't even get up to the water tower anymore since the seniors pulled a prank a few years ago and poured a bunch of tadpoles into it. I can't believe Lily's been working on a book and never told me. I mean, I always knew that she was going to write a book about the adolescent experience in post-Cold War America, but I didn't think that she was going to start before we graduated. If you ask me, this book can't be very balanced because I hear things get way better in sophomore year. Still, I guess it does make sense that you would tell someone whose tongue has been in your mouth things that you wouldn't necessarily tell your best friend. But it does make me mad that Boris knows things about Lily that I don't know. I tell Lily everything. Well, except how I feel about her brother. Oh, and I guess except about my secret admirer. And not my mom and Mr. Gianni. But I practically tell her everything else. Don't forget list. Number 1, stop thinking about MM. Number 2, English journal, profound moment. Number 3, cat food. Number 4, Q-tips. Number 5, toothpaste. Number 6, toilet paper. Tuesday, October 28th. Bio. I'm winning friends and influencing people everywhere I go today. Kenny just asked me what I'm doing for Halloween, and I said I might have a family obligation to attend, and he said that if I could get out of it, a bunch of his friends who are from Computer Club are going to Rocky Horror, and that I should come along. And I asked him if one of his friends was Michael Moskovitz, because Michael's the treasurer of the Computer Club, and he said yes. I thought about asking Kenny if he's heard Michael mention whether or not he likes me, you know, like in a special way, but I decided not to, because then I think Kenny might think I like him. Michael, I mean. How pathetic would that look? Ode to M. Oh, M, why can't you see that X equals you and Y equals me, and that you plus me equals ecstasy, and together we'd be forever happy? I'm sorry, I can't. Okay. I can handle this. I can get through it without laughing. It's all good, you guys. A modern day Shakespeare, if ever there was one. Tuesday, October 28th, 6 p.m. On the way back to the loft from Gramier. Seriously, teens, yeah. What with all the backlash about my interview on 24/7, I completely forgot about Gramier and Vigo and the Genovian event organizer. I mean it, I swear. I didn't remember a thing about Vigo and the asparagus tips, not until I walked into my grandmother's suite tonight for my princess lessons, and there were all these people scurrying around doing things like barking into a phone. No, that's 4,000 long-stem pink roses, not 400, click, and calligraphying place cards. I found Gramier sitting amidst all of this activity, sampling truffles with Rommel, stylishly dressed in a chinchilla cape, dyed mauve, sitting in her lap. I'm not kidding. Truffles. No, Gramier said, putting a gooey, half-eaten chocolate back into the box that Vigo was holding out to her. Not that one, I think. Cherries are so vulgar. Gramier, I couldn't believe this. I was practically hyperventilating, the way that Gramier had when she found out that Mom was pregnant. What are you doing? And who are all these people? Oh, Mia, Gramir said, looking pleased to see me, even though, judging from the remains of the box Vigo was holding, she'd been eating a lot of stuff with nougat in it, none of which had gotten into her teeth. This is one of the many royal tricks that Gramir had yet to teach me. Lovely. Do sit down and help me decide which of these truffles we should get put into a gift box for the wedding guests as party favors. Wedding guests? I sank into the chair that Vigo had pulled out for me and dropped my backpack. Gramir, I told you, Mom's never going to go along with this. She doesn't want something like this. And Gramir just shook her head and said, pregnant women are never the most rational creatures. And I pointed out that, judging from my research into the matter, while it was true that hormonal imbalances often cause pregnant women discomfort, I saw no reason to suppose that these imbalances in any way invalidated my mother's feelings on the matter, especially since I knew that they'd be exactly the same if she wasn't pregnant. My mom is not a royal wedding type of gal. I mean, she gets together with her girlfriends for margarita poker night once a month. She, Vigo pointed out, is the mother of the future reigning monarch of Genovia, your highness. And as such, it is vital that she be extended every privilege and courtesy that the palace can offer. Then how about offering her the privilege of planning her wedding for herself? I said. And Gramir had a good laugh at that one. She practically choked on the swig of sidecar that she was taking after each bite of truffle in order to cleanse her palate. Amelia, she said, when she was through coughing, something Rommel had found extremely alarming, if the way he rolled his eyes back into his head was any indication. She continued, your mother will be eternally grateful to all the work we are doing on her behalf. You see. I realized it was no good arguing with them. I knew what I was going to have to do. And I would have to do it right after my lesson, which was how to write a royal thank you note. You would not believe all the wedding presents and baby stuff that people had started sending my mother, care of the Genovian royal family at the Plaza Hotel. Like, seriously, it's kind of unreal. The place is jam-packed with electric walks, waffle irons, tablecloths, baby shoes, baby hats, baby clothes, baby diapers, baby toys, baby swings, baby changing tables, baby, you name it. I had no idea so much stuff was necessary for raising a baby. But I have a pretty good idea that my mom isn't going to want any of it. She's not really into pastels. So I marched up the door to my father's hotel suite and I banged on it. He wasn't there. And then I asked the concierge down in the lobby if she knew where my dad had gone, and she said she wasn't sure. One thing she was quite certain, however, was that Beverly Bellavere had been with my dad when he left. Well, I'm glad that my dad has found a new friend, I guess, but hello! Is he not aware of the impending disaster growing under his own royal nose? Tuesday, October 28th, 10 p.m., The Loft. Well, it happened. The impending disaster is now officially a real disaster because Gramir has gotten completely out of hand, and I didn't even realize how badly either until I got home tonight from my lessons and I saw this family sitting around our dining room table. That's right, an entire family. Well, like a mom, a dad, and a kid. Anyway, I'm not kidding. At first I thought that they were tourists that had maybe taken a wrong turn because our neighborhood is like very touristy. Like maybe they thought they were going to Washington Square Park but ended up following the Chinese food delivery guy into our loft instead. But then the woman, who was wearing pink jogging pants, clearly an indication that she was from out of town, looked at me and said, "Oh my lord, are you telling me you're actually going to wear your hair like that in real life? I thought that that was just for TV." My jaw dropped and I went, "Grandmother Thermopolis? Grandmother Thermopolis?" The woman squinted at me. "I guess all this royal stuff really has gone to your head. Don't you remember me, honey? I'm your Meemaw." Meemaw? My grandmother from my mother's side, and there, sitting beside her, roughly half her size and wearing a baseball cap, was my mother's father, Peepaw. The hulking boy in the flannel shirt and overalls I didn't recognize, but that hardly mattered. What were my mother's estranged parents, who had never left Versailles, Indiana before in their lives, doing downtown in our village loft? A quick consultation with my mother explained it. I was able to find her by following the phone cord into her bedroom and then into her walk-in closet, where she was huddled behind her shoe rack, empty, all of her shoes were on the floor, whispering conspiracies with my father. "I don't care how you do it, Philippe," she was hissing into the phone. "You tell that mother of yours that she's gone too far this time." "My parents, Philippe! You know how I feel about my parents. And if you don't get them out of here, Mia is going to end up paying visits to me through a slot in the door at Bellevue." I could hear my father murmuring reassurances through the phone. My mother noticed me and whispered, "Are they still out there?" And I said, yes. You mean you didn't invite them? Of course I didn't invite them. My mother's eyes went as wide as Kalamata olives. Your grandmother invited them for some cockamamie wedding she thinks she's throwing for me and Frank on Friday. I gulped guiltily. Oops. Well, all I can say in my own defense is that things have been very, very hectic here lately. I mean, what with finding out that my mother's pregnant and then getting sick and the whole Josie Rocks things and then the interview. Oh, right, there's no real excuse. I'm an absolutely horrible daughter. So my mom held out the phone to me. He wants to talk to you, she said. And I took the phone and went, Dad, where are you? I'm in the car, he said. Listen, Mia, I got to the concierge to arrange rooms for your grandparents at a hotel near your place. The Soho Grand. Okay, just put them in the limo and send them there. Okay, Dad, I said. What about Grandmere and this whole wedding thing? I mean, it's sort of out of control. Understatement of the year. I'll take care of Grandmere, my dad said, sounding very Captain Picardish, you know, from Star Trek The Next Generation. I got the feeling that Beverly Bellavere was in the car with him and he wanted to sound all princely in front of her. Okay, I said, but it's not that I didn't trust my dad or anything to, like, take care of the situation. It's just that, well, we're talking about Grandmere here. She can be very scary when she wants to be, even, I'm sure, to her own son. I guess he must have known what I was thinking because he said, Don't worry, Mia, I'll take care of it. Okay, I said, feeling bad about doubting him. And Mia, I'd been about to hang up. Yeah, Dad? Assure your mother I didn't know anything about this. I swear it. Okay, Dad. And then I hung up the phone. Don't worry, I said to my mom. I'm going to take care of this. And then, my shoulders back, I returned to the living room, and my grandparents were still sitting at the table, and their farmer friend, however, had gotten up. He was in the kitchen, peering in the refrigerator. Is all you got to eat around here? He asked, pointing to the carton of soy milk and a bowl of edamame on the first shelf. I said, well, yes, we're trying to keep our refrigerator free from any sort of contaminants that might harm a developing fetus. Well, the guy looked blankly, and I said, we usually just order in, okay? And he brightened at once and closed the refrigerator. Oh, Domino's? He said, well, that's great. I said, yeah, I guess you can order Domino's if you want from, like, your hotel room. Hotel room? I spun around and Meemaw had snuck up behind me. Yes, I said. You see, my father thought that you might be more comfortable at a nice hotel than here in the loft. Well, if that doesn't beat all, Meemaw said. Here, your peepaw and Hank and I come all the way to see you, and you just stick us in a hotel. I looked over at the guy in the overalls with renewed interest. Hank? As in, my cousin Hank? Why, the last time I'd seen him was during my second and ultimately final trip to Versailles back when I'd been about 10 or so, and Hank had been dropped off at the Thermopolis homestead the year before by his globe-trotting mother, my Aunt Marie, who my mom can't stand because, as my mother puts it, she exists in an intellectual and spiritual vacuum, meaning that Marie is a Republican. Back then, Hank had been a skinny, whiny thing with a milk allergy. Well, he wasn't as skinny as he'd once been, but he still looked a little lactose intolerant, if you asked me. Nobody said anything about us being hauled off to an expensive New York City hotel when that French woman called. Meemaw had followed me into the kitchen, and now she stood with her hands on her generous hips. She said she'd pay for everything, Meemaw said, free and clear. And I realized at once where Meemaw's concern lay. Meemaw, I said, my father will take care of the bill at the hotel, of course. Oh, well, that's different, Meemaw beamed. Let's go then. I figured I'd better go with them just to make sure that they got there all right. And as soon as we got into the limo, Hank forgot all about how hungry he was in his delight over all the buttons there were to push. He had a swell time sticking his head in and out of the sunroof, and at one point, he stuck his whole body through the sunroof, spread his arms out wide, and yelled, I'm king of the world! Fortunately, the limo's windows are tinted, so I don't think anyone from school would have recognized me, but I still couldn't help feeling absolutely mortified. So you can understand why, after I got them all checked into the hotel and everything, and Meemaw asked me if I would take Hank to school with me in the morning, I nearly passed out. Oh, you don't want to go to school with me, Hank, I said quickly. I mean, you're on vacation. You could do something really fun. I tried to think of something that might seem really fun to Hank, like go to the Harley-Davidson cafe. But Hank said, heck no, I want to go to school with you, Mia. I always wanted to see what it was like at a real New York City high school. He lowered his voice so Meemaw and Pawpaw wouldn't hear. I hear the girls in the New York City schools have all got their belly buttons pierced. Hank was in for a real disappointment if he thought he'd see any pierced navels in my school. We all wear uniforms, and you aren't even allowed to tie the ends of your shirt into a halter top a la Britney Spears. But I couldn't see a way out of having him accompany me for the day. Grammy was always going on and on about how princesses have to be gracious. Well, I guess this is all one big test. So I said, okay, which didn't sound very gracious, but what else could I say at this point? And then Meemaw surprised me by grabbing me and giving me a hug goodbye. I don't know why this was so surprised. This was a very grandmotherly thing to do, of course. But I guess seeing how the grandmother I spent most time with was Grandmere, I really wasn't expecting it. And as she hugged me, Meemaw said, "Why, aren't you anything but just skin and bones?" Yeah, thank you, Meemaw. It is true. I am mammarily challenged, but must you shout it in the lobby of the Soho Grand? And when are you going to stop shooting up so high? I swear you are almost taller than Hank. Which was unfortunately true. And then Meemaw and Peepaw gave me a hug goodbye. Then Meemaw made Peepaw give me a hug goodbye too. Meemaw had been very soft when I hugged her, but Peepaw was the exact opposite, very bony. It was sort of amazing to me that these two people had managed to turn my strong-willed, independently minded mother into such a gibbering mess. I mean, Grandma used to lock my dad in a castle dungeon when he was a kid, and he isn't even half as resentful towards her as my mom is towards her parents. On the other hand, my dad is in deep denial and suffers from classic Oedipal issues, at least according to Lily, he does anyway. When I got home, my mom had moved from the closet to her bed where she lay covered in Victoria's Secret and J. Crew catalogs. She must be feeling a little better. Ordering things is one of her favorite hobbies. So I said, "Hi, Mom." And she looked out from behind the spring bathing suit edition. Her face was all bloated and splotchy. I was glad Mr. G wasn't around. He might have had second thoughts about marrying her if he'd gotten a good look at her just then. "Oh, Mia," she said when she saw me. "Come here and let me give you a hug. Was it horrible? I'm so sorry. I'm such a bad mother." I sat down on the bed beside her. "You aren't a bad mother," I said. "You're a good mother. You just aren't feeling well." "No," my mother said, and she was sniffling, so I knew the reason she looked so bloated and horrible was that she had been crying. "I'm a terrible person. My parents came all the way to see me from Indiana, and I sent them to a hotel." I could tell that my mom was having a hormonal imbalance and she wasn't herself. If she'd been herself, she wouldn't have thought twice about sending her parents to a hotel. She'd never forgiven them for A, not supporting her decision to have me, B, not approving of the way she was raising me, and C, voting for George Bush Sr. as well as his son. Hormonal imbalance or not, though, the truth is my mother does not need this kind of stress. This should be a really happy time for her. It says in all the stuff I've read about pregnancy that preparing for the birth of your child should be a joyful time, celebration. And it would be if Grandmere hadn't come around and ruined it all by sticking her nose where no one wants it. She has got to be stopped. And I'm not just saying that on account of how much I really, really want to go to Rocky Horror on Friday with Michael. Tuesday, October 28th, 11 p.m. Another email from Josie Rocks. This one says, "Josie Rocks. Dear Mia, just a note to tell you that I saw you last night on TV and you looked beautiful as always. I know some people at school have been giving you a hard time. Don't let them get you down. The majority of us in the world think you rock. Your friend." Isn't that just the sweetest? So I wrote back right away. "Dear friend, thank you so much. Please won't you tell me who you are? I swear I won't tell a soul. Mia." He hasn't written back yet, but I think my sincerity really shows considering all the exclamation points I used. I'm slowly wearing him down. I just know it. English journal. My most profound moment was blank. And we are at 62% for those who are keeping track. 62%. Well, that was a wild ride today. We got to meet her other grandparents, who are quite different from Grandmere. Quite different. All right, so, battery 3%, you better plug in. I'm gonna go eat breakfast, pack all the orders from last night. Yeah, right, seriously, Jess. Get them to the post office, and then get to work on some more Rolfus videos and whatnot. It's wireless, but it's, yeah, we need to get you a fixed plug, Miss Becca. Have a great day, all of y'all. I will see you later. If you are a Patreon person, I posted something about Thursday, so check on that. Bye, guys.